2, 1.
Welcome to Antimatters.
Hello everyone. Today got an action-packed episode. I've got 2 species to introduce. One of them, which you can see in the background now, is Polyrachus armata. The second species is a surprise, as it was to me when I got the package. So let's jump into the Polyrachus. I got this beautiful queen from Antantics the other day. As normal, I was up late and the addiction kicked in and I had to buy some ants. I'd been looking at the Polyrachus armata for quite a while, to be honest, and have kept seeing Baker's queen in the Antantics chat. And every time I saw her, I could feel my self-control slipping a little bit more. But the other night, I caved and ended up getting this absolutely beautiful queen. She's a massive Polyrachus in my opinion, and her spikes are also massive. The queen is about 15mm long, and the workers are currently, I'd say, about 11mm long. But they're kind of nanitics, so a little bit smaller than usual. Normal workers are about 12 to 13mm, so a smidge bigger. I think they come from Southeast Asia, mostly. So let's have a look at this beautiful queen. In my opinion, Polyrachus I think they're my favourite species out of all ant species, just because the spikes. And this girl, she really lives up to the name Polyrachus, because she's got some real beasts. She looks like she's been turfed out of the deepest pits of hell, the amount of spikes she has. On her shoulders, she has 2 whoppers that point out towards her head, which they just give her attitude, to be honest. Then she's got her little petiole bit, or post-petiole maybe it's called, the bit between the gaster and the thorax, which also has a double set of spikes, and on the back of her thorax as well are 2 more spikes. The workers also share the amazing spikes, but with slightly smaller shoulder spikes. Well, relatively, they're actually probably bigger than the queen's, but she's a larger ant and her spikes are larger than the workers'. Definitely a bit beefier, to be honest, as well. They look structurally much more sound. Along with the spikes, the queen also has this amazing texture. It's kind of like millions of little dots. I'm not 100% sure what it's all about or why it's there, but I have a sneaky suspicion it might be related to the larvae, which are also really weird looking. We'll get to that in a minute. There's definitely something odd about them though. Unfortunately for this Polyrachus, she hasn't got an absolutely huge beard, but that's alright because she has absolutely amazing spikes instead. I am a massive fan of the ants with the really massive mouth parts, or the palps that come underneath, because I think it makes them look really wise when they're really long. The queen also has really beady eyes. They proper prod out of her head. I think this is because in nature these ants will be up a tree and weave a nest and things like that, so you've kind of got to have a good view for predators, and you don't really want to be caught out by surprise by let's say a bird or something and it peck your head off. Not that she has to worry, she's covered in bloody armoured spikes. I think any bird that went against her would have to be a brave little crazy nutter. Looks department though, 9 out of 10. Would have been a 10 if she had an epic beard. Beautiful queen though. Let's have a look at the workers as well, because they're also absolutely gorgeous. My favourite thing about the workers so far is how timid they've been as well. They really do seem to be super little wimps. They spend most of their time hiding behind the queen, and I do think if any danger was to arise, they'd just leg it and leave her to fend for herself. 100% Sister of the Year material. Luckily for the timid little workers, the queen seems more than happy to be the brave leader of their little colony at the moment. Like a lot of Polyrachus that I've kept, the queen does seem to do most of the foraging and gathering at the small stage. I really enjoy watching it when it's like this, because it's just like watching a little family, to be honest. And it may be personification, but it's still really nice to watch. Along with the queen and the 2 workers, they also came with a lovely amount of brood. So far, I've counted at least 4 little larvae, and I think there might be 2 cocoons and there's also a couple smaller larvae hidden underneath. Egg-wise, I'm not 100% sure on what they've got, but I do think there's a tiny little patch of them. These larvae though are unlike any other larvae I've seen before. I have seen hairy larvae before, like the Harpignathos, but nothing like this. They're covered in tiny little black hairs. It kind of makes them look like a fat man's neck. Here you can see around its head there's kind of like a black shadow, but those are all tiny little black hairs. To start them off as well, I've chosen to give them a little tube pod from Wakushi. Use code ANTIMATTERS for 10% off at checkout as well. I really like these tube pods, especially for founding colonies, because it gives you a nice easy place to feed and water them without really disturbing them too much. They're also super easy to clean. When it gets dirty in there, I just pop the lid off, get my tweezers with a little bit of cotton wool and dip it in water, and then just smear it around in there, and bam, it's all clean. Fingers crossed though, it sends them in the right direction at this crucial starting phase. It would be really nice if they could just explode in numbers. Apparently in the wild they grow to about 200 to 400, however I'd like to put that to the test. Maybe I'll be able to get them to 500, maybe even 1,000. I don't think you could ever have too many of these beautiful spiky little ants. Fingers crossed, this little family continues to flourish and grow. It is looking really good, and because I got the queens from Ant Antics, I'm quite confident that I've got a really healthy queen, as they've always been really nice from there. Something in the future that I'm really looking forward to as well is these girls can properly weave a nest, so I'd like to let them loose and let them maybe weave a little nest inside of something. So that's these girls all introduced. Time for the surprise. She is an absolute tank, and she's also a whopper. For all you ant-ideas out there, I won't tell you what she is for a minute, but I will give you a hint. She is a Camponotus. Along with the supersized highness are about 11 little workers I count. This makes me really happy because, to be honest, I'm really bad at looking after Camponotus, and all the ones I've ever had have died. So getting past the founding stage, it means a lot to me because there's not, I don't know, in my opinion there isn't much chance that I'd have ever got past the founding stage. So what's the story behind this colony then? Well, when I ordered the Polyrachus armata, well, I was just expecting Polyrachus armata to be honest, but when the package came, I was super surprised and really happy to find that there was an extra colony in there, with a little label saying for the channel. A big thank you to everyone at Ant Antics for the little present, I really do appreciate it, and it's one hell of a queen. I can 100% tell as well she's been really well looked after, and all the workers are fat with food, just how well I like them to be honest. So the big girl herself is quite dark, however the little workers, they are a lot more kind of orange than Her Highness. I'm a big fan of like the redder, orangey, yellowy anty sort of thing, so I think they're absolutely great. They've got these really spindly long bodies as well. Their thorax it's near non-existent on the workers, it's just like a stick. But they're really big and really long, and they've got really long legs as well to go with their little frame. They look really cute to be honest, a little bit like giant yellow crazy ants. So have you guessed what they are yet? If you haven't and you want to, you should probably pause it now. But these girls are Camponotus arrogans. I believe they come from Southeast Asia, same kind of area as the Polyrachus armata. I can't lie that if you live in Southeast Asia, you are one lucky bugger because you get all the cool ants down there. So far, I must have spent at least 2 hours admiring these ants. And they haven't even got an outworld, or they haven't even really been doing anything yet. And I'm quite looking forward to a point in the future, I hope, if I can keep them alive, when they're large enough to have a nice little outworld and a little nest. I think I'd probably go for an artificial setup, however, I might go for a natural setup eventually with these girls. I think Camponotus ants really do look nice inside of a natural setup, and because they're so big, a lot of them, they stand out nicely against the soil. As opposed, for example, to my Carabera, which, if you look in their tank, there could be thousands out running around on the mud. But if you're not really looking closely, you can't really spot them. It just looks like the mud is wiggling a little bit. You definitely wouldn't have that problem though with these big girls. And their yellow as well would stand out beautiful, I think. Let's take a quick look at the brood. The colony came with a lovely amount of brood. I do believe there may have been an extra cocoon. As you can see, there's kind of a white meaty bit on the side of the tube. And if you look at the tail end in a minute, it does look extremely similar to an antgaster at the back. So I think they might have ripped open one of the cocoons and had a chow on one of their siblings. Or maybe it died in the cocoon and they were like, we don't want to waste the resources, so we're going to recycle her. Hopefully that's the last death that occurs in this tube for quite a while. To try and stop them all dying, to be honest, I've done as much research as I can, which I don't normally do, to be honest. I'm quite terrible at just buying an ant and not researching anything. I'll look at where it comes from and, well, that's the extent of my looking them up. For these girls though, I hit up the old Google, which it told me naff all, to be honest. But I did find one of the shops said they like to be kept at about 27ish degrees. So I've chosen to keep these at about 27 degrees. It also told me they don't hibernate, which is a massive perk for me because, well, I lost 2 of the colonies last year when they went into hibernation, and things just went downhill from there. So not having to hibernate them, well, it increases their chances of surviving. To also maximise their chance of success and reduce stress, I've chosen to give them a tube pod, just like the Polyrachus as well. As I said, I'm a huge fan of the tube pods, but it does let me just feed them with a little bit less worry, to be honest. I know that if any of the food goes mouldy and they haven't dragged it into the tubes, that I can get it out of the tube pod really easily. If I'm really unlucky and they do drag a bit of food into the tube and it goes manky as well, because they've got a little outworld, there's a good chance they'll drag the manky piece of bug or whatever it is back out into the tube pod so I can remove it at a later date. Anyway, I think that's enough ogling at these ants today. I hope you enjoyed this introduction episode, and I'm really looking forward to keeping you all updated on how they get along. Both good and bad news as well. I definitely recommend heading over to Ant Antics as well and having a good look through the store, because all the ants over there, they are just so healthy. Also happy too. The ants always seem full of life and ready to take on all the challenges that life is about to throw them. Until next time though, have a fabulous week. I hope you enjoyed the video again. May your ants live long and prosper. Until next time, bye!